Go. Welcome back to Hoops HD, everybody. This is our June 2020 off-season podcast. I'm your host, Chad Sherwood, joined by, as always, David Griggs over here. And down below, we've got Brian Black.
Elton John with us tonight. So a special episode. I mean, I guess you could say all the summer shows are specials, but this is is it 353 or 354 now? I've lost count.
Jerseys it's going to be 357, actually.
Yeah,
okay. We've got 4 more joining, I believe, hopefully this next season.
Yeah.
Assuming we get going in November.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so 357 jerseys for Hope. Is that
that's what it's going to be changing. It currently is 353, but it'll be changing probably once we know there's going to be a season. It'll be changing at some point, maybe whether or not we know if there's going to be a season. But
I'll tell you what, Brian, let's take a quick step back here for people that don't know what we're talking about. 353, 354. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Kind of reintroduce for anybody that hasn't watched recently.
So
I like whiskey. I like college basketball. I'm here every week, Chad. What do you mean?
I said Brian. Not
okay. I'm sorry.
So back in 2017, I started writing to the schools just on a whim, thinking, my dream of traveling driving to all of the schools has been crushed because I have medial temporal lobe epilepsy. And so I'll more than likely probably never be able to drive again. So as a result, I wrote to the schools and said, if you have any old jerseys laying around, would you be able to send one my way? And I ended up getting the most overwhelming response I can imagine. So I said, okay, I'm going to start thanking these schools by wearing these jerseys and the teams that represent them. So over the last 3 years, I now have 256 out of the 357. So 101 left to go. Hopefully some soon as teams are just finally starting to get back. But yeah, this journey has been nothing short of crazy. 2 brain surgeries back in August of 2018. And yeah, it's been a crazy ride, and I'm so grateful to these schools and for you guys for helping get my story out.
Yeah, Brian, you're definitely part of the Hoops HD family. I know that you can't always, you can't be there as much as we would like to have you there on the weekly podcast, but right. Because of the other issues. But when we do, in the years where there isn't a pandemic, you are part of the mock committee. You're certainly part of a lot of the behind-the-scenes stuff on the emails. So, I'm glad you're here tonight to kind of, again, tell your story. We've done this before, but I think it was at least a year ago, maybe longer, and you're further along now. And, the name has changed. It's gone from 351 to 353 to soon 357. Mm-hmm. So, that's a big thing. And it's kind of neat because while there's the whole overarching story, you kind of have a story for probably each jersey that you have. I know that you've come into a lot of contact with coaches and administrators at these schools. Well, since you got Oregon on there, tell us about that one. Why Oregon?
Well, I happen to be an alum of the University of Oregon. I graduated in 2008, so I am a Duck. And they sent me one. I believe they were in the first 60, some odd 70 jerseys. Once things really got going, I went in for an analysis on my brain, that they put a bunch of stuff on my brain, and I got a news story written, and then that's when a lot of things really got going, and they sent this one to me. Their staff put this together for me back, I think, again, this was back in 2017 when I went in for an examination. So this is one of the ones I truly cherish simply because it's on my alma mater. But I have, with 256 of them, like you said, there's so many stories. One of my favorites is Ohio State one, Thad Matta. That was like a 3rd or 4th jersey, one of the very early jerseys I got right before he parted ways with them, and wrote me a note and said, hang in there and stay tough. And that was like, holy cannoli, this is bigger than I thought it could be. There's something here. So just want to help people that struggle with epilepsy know that they're not alone. You're not alone. I'm out looking out for you. The schools are looking out for you, and we're all looking out for each other that have it. So one in every, I believe it's 26 people or so have it, or 2 out of every 26 people or something like that. So it's definitely something that I feel like is not focused on quite as much as I would hope it to be.
Well,
Yeah.
hopefully we could bring a lot of attention to it, and that's what I'm hoping we could do here. And you mentioned you had the surgeries, Brian. How are you doing, today, not, the last, few months and everything, generally?
So, like, it's been, crazy recovery. It's every once in a while my head will still hurt, but it's been pretty interesting. The episodes I experience are definitely less frequent, especially when sports is going on. So now that we're at day, 103, without any ball games.
Korean baseball. Come on.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Right. It's taking a toll. Oh, yeah. Yeah, right. Exactly. Korean baseball every night. And I've been sitting up having that on in the background. Right. Exactly. So, this has just been a crazy journey. I'm just so grateful for you guys and for other people. I've got a lot of people here that help, a couple people here that help take care of me, and that I'm super grateful to. So again, I wouldn't be able to be able to chat with you guys if I didn't have them. They basically saved me from where I was in my life. So definitely.
Okay. So you mentioned, do you remember, well, before we go on, Brian, I can relate to you not being able to drive. The law prohibits me from driving as well, largely because my lawyer can't seem to help get me off of repeating. I don't know. Sometimes you get a little over-refreshed when you watch basketball, and you got to get home. But anyway, another story. Do you remember the first jersey that you got? I don't think I know the answer to this. What was the first one, or do you remember?
The first one I got was from Eastern Washington, from the Big Sky Conference, and it arrived the day before NC State did. So that was a big one. So, Eastern Washington was the very first one. And I, snapped a quick picture of it thinking, oh, cool. I'll get maybe a few of these smaller schools, quote unquote, smaller schools, maybe I'll get a handful of jerseys from them and be like, oh, cool. These are ones you don't see very often. And then all of a sudden it was like, whoa.
Yeah. You got them all there behind you?
Yeah. They're all 255 plus 256.
Yeah.
If you're at 256, is there one school out there that you don't have yet that's kind of your top of your list that you really, really want?
Either Gonzaga, North Carolina, or Villanova. One of those three blue bloods. I think any of those three are the ones that I think are the big targets. I've got Duke, Kentucky, Michigan State. So, there's a bunch of the blue bloods that I have. So, it's awesome to kind of complete that list. Kansas, I also have as well.
You do have Kansas.
I do have Kansas. Yeah. So they actually sent me one. I'm not sure who did. Somebody in their athletic department sent me one, and I don't know who it is. It might have been Bill Self. I don't know. It came from the school, and I opened it, and I was like, holy cow.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was just going to be some fan sort of a maybe piece of memorabilia or something like that, but I didn't expect it to be like a full on like embroidered jersey and everything.
Now, Brian, you've also got something else that you're working on too. You actually mentioned that you don't drive, but you do want to try to start traveling to games once things get opened up. And I want to bring up here on the screen. Actually, I'll bring up our Hoops HD website. In fact, should be shown on the screen there. And if you look down here in the bottom row, it says you click on 353 jerseys for Hope, and we've got a little bit of your story here. And most importantly, we have a link here to a GoFundMe page. So what's going on? What are you trying to get funded first of all? Then we'll take a closer look at where we are with all that.
So one of my dreams was to be able to, as I went to these schools, to be able to go to games as well, and to see how many different games I could go to. And I knew financially it'd probably be a pipe dream, but it was just something I knew could be a lot of fun. So I figured, now that this has really been a thing that's been gotten going, I want to send a message of positivity out to as many people as I can. And so going to games and seeing other people that may have been impacted or are impacted by epilepsy in some form, I can kind of connect with them and be like, it's okay. These schools have our back. Their research, their people are amazing, and they take care of us, and we'll be okay. And so through that, I would love to be able to go to games as much as I can, would be able to, all over the country. And so I set up that GoFundMe for folks, to, if they want me to be able to come to one of their games, I would love to be able to do that. And so it would mean the world to me to be able to help, reach so many other people that struggle with epilepsy, and to know that that these schools have our back, and we're going to be okay.
Yeah, but there is. It's the GoFundMe page is college basketball versus epilepsy.
Who gave $3? 1,003. Nice round number there.
Hey, but 10% of the way there already. So we're gonna fight to get you all the way there, Brian. Definitely.
Yeah, and Brian, a colleague of ours, selection committee guessing expert John Titel, he knows all about getting to games. He's an expert at it, so we can help you get just about anywhere.
One thing with these
getting credentialed.
I was going to say, one thing with these glasses, I would love to kind of make sort of a identity. You know how baseball has Marlins man? He's always sitting there behind to play the Smithy games. So I'd love to be a guy where the camera pans across and randomly sees me with these glasses and whatever team's jersey is, and it'd be like, oh, he's at this game. Even if it's just some, smaller game, I'd be down there with my hands kind of going nuts with maybe I'd be right next to students with the glasses on and being like, hey, this is awesome. And then, I don't know. That's kind of, again, like I say, probably a pipe dream, but something.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, maybe not necessarily. I mean, it's something like that could really take off. I mean, it might take several years for it to happen, but it could happen. And you're in Oregon right now. Is that where? Okay, so you're, and you got, what are the D1? You got Oregon, you got Oregon State, you got Portland State, you got Portland. I mean, that's 4 right there. Chad, have you ever been to 4 games in one day?
No,
I know you've been to 2.
I've done 2 games in a day a couple times, but never done more than 2.
Well, I have, but it was at a conference tournament. I'm not sure if that counts.
Well, yeah, actually, I have. I've been to. I did do 4 games in one day at a conference tournament, but it was all in one location. In terms of multiple locations, though, I've done 2 locations at one day. Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's just kind of a start, and you just that could sort of plant the seed. But I'd love for you to take this kind of show on the road, and that's the one thing about college basketball. It's seemingly, no matter where you are, unless you're where Chad is, you're within a close distance of a big college basketball.
Hey, the 4 games one day I went to was at a Metro Atlantic tournament this year in Atlantic City that nobody ever won the tournament. So
go
ahead, like you said, there's so much. Like you said, all across this country, there's so much basketball since there are 357 teams now. So it's absolutely, like you said, planting the seeds. I've gone to 3 of the 4 teams in the state of Oregon's games, Oregon Ducks, and then I've gone to a Portland State and a University of Portland game. So I've not been to a Beavers game yet, but I haven't had a chance to go to any others up in Washington either. So again, just kind of like that locally, and then going from there. Maybe.
Okay. And how have the rivals treated you? Do you have a Beavers jersey?
I do. I have a Beavers jersey and
a Huskies jersey. Which is the bigger rival? Is it Washington or Oregon State?
It's Washington.
I thought it was. Yeah.
Throughout the athletic departments of both of the schools, are significantly have significantly more money pumped into them. That's pretty much what it comes down to.
Yeah. Because you would assume, I think most people on the outside looking in, not that Oregon State, the Civil War is not an intense rivalry, but it's not. In Wazoo, Washington is as well, but Washington, Oregon is I think both of them would consider each other their biggest rival. So.
Yeah, it's one of those sort of like Michigan scenarios for Oregon. Yeah. Like Michigan has like 2 teams that, or at least 2 teams consider them their biggest rivals. So. Yeah, we have both the Beavers and the Huskies who consider us their biggest rival, and likewise with Washington and us. Hoopers.
So, let's see. Do you have one? I'm probably going to take a swing and a miss here. I don't know if you're in a position to get up and show us some of these, but has Merrimack, have they sent you one yet?
Merrimack has not.
Oh, come on. They won the conference their first year.
Let me see if I can get over here and so if we're looking at Pac-12 stuff, we're talking about the Beavers.
Yeah.
Here's the Beavers.
Okay, yeah.
And then you have you were saying Washington. So that's there too. So it's been a crazy ride. Again, if you guys take a swing and a miss, that definitely not a swing and a miss. There.
Yeah. Well, here's what I know I'll connect on. Nothing really particular about this program other than that it is the most unique, bizarre-looking jersey I've ever seen. And you have the retro one of Houston Baptist, don't you?
Yes, and let me see if I can – there are pictures somewhere of me wearing that. I've got to go back here and find
if you're watching this for the first time and you don't see a lot of Southland basketball, you may have missed this. But
these are their throwback uniforms. They wear once or twice a year only. They are absolutely amazing.
I don't have the pants on me right now.
Yes, there it is.
that's one of my favorite uniforms in all of college basketball.
Yeah, it is.
And and their athletic director, they sent that to me like super early on too. I was flabbergasted. And then their the other one they sent me was from Braxton Bonds, who was Barry Bonds' nephew.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, just a random story there. He was their PG there for a little while.
Yeah.
Well, Brian, I mean, if you want to discuss this here a little bit, I think you got a little other news in your life lately. You want to throw that out there?
Yeah, so this last week, this last couple weeks, I got engaged, and
all right.
I'd love anybody has a PO box, something. Let me know. I'll send you an invitation. Not even kidding. I won't have very many people there from my side, so it'd be awesome to have as many people as possible from all over the country. Be like,
I'll tell you what, Brian. If I wasn't on the other side of the country, I would be there. But it's a little tough from Jersey to Oregon.
Only 3,000 mile drive.
3,000 mile drive with a pandemic going on. But other than
that, cake. Yep.
Yeah, it's a long way to hitchhike.
Right.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, congratulations. That is just awesome news.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, again, it's been a crazy ride. And, again, as long as things aren't too COVID-y or pandemic-y, then ideally in May is the date, is what we're shooting for.
Yeah. Another thing that you did, and I guess you started this back in the 18-19 season, was in concert with the survival board. As teams were eliminated from it, you would tweet it out, and with wearing the jersey. I always thought that was kind of a fun tradition, and it really stinks that we didn't get to see it through this year. I think there was about 200 teams still left on it, but. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it was such a bummer. I tweeted out that picture of me with the face palm because it's like, okay, we're done doing this, I guess.
Yeah.
And so the one thing I thought would be cool is, CBS in turn, they do March Madness. So since CBS also has the rights to Survivor, you feel like could get the whole thing putting out the torch.
Yeah.
The NCAA has spoken, and then goodbye. Sort of, it's time for you to go.
Yeah.
That's it. Your season playing meaningful college basketball is over.
Maybe we got to reach out to Jeff Probst to see if we can get you a torch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then have the little ones here, get up on the ladder or something and put it out. I just got to figure out. I got to get a proper camera. This is kind of part of this whole thing. So I got my camera that I have is literally my phone camera. It's completely Bush League. So.
Yeah. And maybe a little different this year. A lot of conferences already announcing altered conference tournament formats. I think the MAC is only going to have 8. So, and I just remember this past year it was great because I think when we started we had 340 teams on it at the start of championship week. Just I think it was the most we'd ever had when you consider the lack of teams that were on probation and the amount of conferences that had opened up their tournaments to include more. And I'm like, oh, how fun is this? I think we're on schedule to have more conference tournaments games this year at the Division I level than what had ever taken place before. And then we didn't.
Yeah, we had the fewest amount.
Yeah, we ended up.
Since about 20 years, I bet. But
yeah,
like you said, with it cutting back with at least one of the tournaments cutting back. Yeah, it's fewer teams going to be playing, so it'll just be more survival tweets at the end of the regular season instead.
Well, I mean, at some point in this offseason, we're gonna have to get into this a little bit more. I mean, there's still no guarantee we even have a next season, which is just just awful, and it's but we will at some point over the course of the summer start talking more about the pandemic as we all see how things like when the NBA and the NHL reopen, how those events go. I think it's going to really give us an outline going forward, though.
Exactly, and of course college football too, like what they do. Because if they start canceling some of that, you got to think that's set some sort of a precedent, and then NCAA have to be like, okay, what do we do with our winter sports now if there continues to be a worse spike and stuff like that? So,
there really isn't a how-to manual. The expectation now, and that is that there will be fall and winter sports. But, a day before the NCAA tournament was canceled last year, the expectation was that there would be a tournament. So, you can't really say for certain whether or not we'll have college. We'll have it again someday. But whether or not we'll have it, what it will look like if we do have it, we're kind of getting off topic here. But I do think that I mean it is kind of important. I think that one of the things that we're realizing is just kind of like
financial impacts.
Yeah.
Yeah, financial impacts. I mean, you got to think the financial impacts are going to be so massive because so many of these schools, especially I believe the HBCUs, they rely on this money for their athletic department funding. Mm-hmm. So without that, for however many years, these schools are still producing an online curriculum. They still, or in some cases, they're just straight open again, but with no athletics. And so with no money coming in from athletics, this is a huge part of their budgets. They don't have, like you said, schools like Chicago State, are they going to be able to stay afloat?
You really hope so.
And you do. And then if they don't, then it's like, okay, then that representation in Division I is lost for those schools. And so it's like all those people that come from those schools, their basketball team isn't represented in D1 anymore. And it all becomes this cascading effect. And it's going to be obviously completely unprecedented. We have no anticipation of what could possibly happen, I think, at this point. Other than the fact that I think if there is no college football and basketball, the next seasons of both sports will be the most wide open seasons in history.
That could be a lot of fun.
Exactly. So coming back from it will be, you need, like I've said, college football needs an opening ceremony. And so does college basketball, but that'd be so many teams. But if you had college football, you parade all the 130 some odd teams out there, like with flags at the Olympics and in one of the big stadiums. You make a huge, big deal about it. It's like, yay, college sports is back. And it would be awesome, if you don't have NBA and NHL, or Major League Baseball, which baseball is pretty much dead. Exactly. So what if it could be, that could be it. The big way it comes back, sports, ball games comes back. You open up the college sports season, just really this grandiose sort of thing.
It would be amazing, but we're in a spot now where we've got Korean baseball and professional cornhole as the only sports you can watch on TV, exactly. and it's rough. It's rough.
Yeah.
But I guess on that note, David, any other questions here for Brian before we try to wrap things up a little bit here?
Let's see. Are there any other gems, Brian? I know that you're up to is it 256? That's the thing. Like I'm sure you could tell stories all day long of coaches that have reached out to you or players or just like how you've gotten some of the jerseys. I'm trying to think. Is there any? Let's see. What NJIT? Did they ever send you one? That was the original Team of the People.
The original Team of the People. All right.
Yeah.
I think I do. It's just
Yeah.
going to be me going over to the Atlantic Sun here. Which
So
I don't know. I moved it over to. Let me make sure I moved it over to the America East.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they're in
So
the
I
America.
have. Oh wow, yeah, this is way over here. Cool.
Yeah.
I need. You know what I need is one of those rotary ones where it will
Yeah.
turn for me.
Oh,
Right here,
they're like the dry
Coach-
cleaner hat where you punch the number in. Yeah.
Coach Kennedy.
Mhm.
Coach Kennedy sent this one. So again, huge
Beautiful.
thank you to him. Just so kind, him and his guys. And I know it's so tough for them because they don't know when they're going to be back. So
Yeah.
or when anything's going to be going again for them. So
Yeah, and they're sort of in the hotbed of it. So
exactly, yeah, absolutely. Where it all kind of began. Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, I guess on that note, as we mentioned at the top, or in the rest of the middle, you could check them out at 353 Jerseys for Hope for now on Twitter. It's
Yeah.
going to become
Soon to be
357.
357.
You could also check out the link up there on our website, which will bring you right to his GoFundMe
Yeah.
page, give you more information about him.
And if we were able to find it, which is a big if, the article that you mentioned down, it should be somewhere down there at some point. So
Okay, there's an article down there. Okay.
I don't know. I can't see if it's down there yet.
We're working on that too.
Yeah.
But I do want to thank everyone for joining us and wish everyone stays safe out there, stay healthy. But on behalf of David Griggs and Brian Black, I'm Chad Sherwood. Thanks for joining us. And we will be back again with more Hoops HD content really soon.